The next hour is really around a lot of the things that are happening in Florida. Secretary, we're going to get into this a little bit more in depth in about 15 minutes from now. But can you tell me broadly, what is it that you oversee for the state?
Sure. Thanks, and thanks, by the way, and thanks, it's great to be here. Thanks for putting this on, and thanks to the Business Development Board of Palm Beach County, too, for all their work today. Florida Department of Commerce oversees a lot. We are the state's economic development agency. We are also the state's workforce development agency. We don't do that work by ourselves, but we are the principal lead for workforce development and really identifying gaps and critical needs. And we're also, it doesn't sound at all related to that, but we're also the state's land planning agency. Although I enjoy that quite a bit because that means that when we work with a community like Palm Beach County, any community, we really work on the perspective of the employers, the employees, and the long-term plan for how to use great infrastructure and space in that community to serve employers and employees.
And Bob, you sit in a unique role as well. Can you kind of highlight a little bit of what you're doing with the Florida Opportunity Fund?
Sure. Thank you, Matt. Yes, I'm Bob Harvey, and I'm president of the Florida Opportunity Fund. We are, we like to say, the state's venture capital fund. So we invest in startups throughout Florida companies. We are a $180 million fund. We have 54 companies in the portfolio today. And we also invest in funds. So we're actually in 16 funds within the state of Florida. Those funds are also investing in Florida companies. So we're getting a good return on that. We're honored to be a partner with Secretary Kelly at FloridaCommerce. We could not do this without them. That's where all of our dry powder comes from. And when we get allocated funds from FloridaCommerce and Secretary Kelly, we put them to work.
And Hillary, I'm going to kind of throw it over to you a little bit. In your past couple decades of being in Florida and driving business and investment in the state, what has it been like for you in seeing this transformation that's happened over the last couple of decades in our sort of state and county?
Sure. So for those of you who do know me, I've been here for almost 2 decades, primarily working on the island of Palm Beach in wealth management, which was one of the, I would say, big industries of this county. Certainly there's all sorts of different industries, but wealth management was kind of the thing that led the charge for finance. Given the success of Wall Street South and Kelly Smolleridge's team with the Business Development Board of Palm Beach County, she had 17 years of leading into the pandemic of getting venture capitalists, private equity, asset managers, et cetera, down here. Certainly the pandemic helped us, but it's been just sort of amazing to now see the full stack of capital markets represented, here specifically in the county, but also, in the state. But one of the things that attracted me to the concept of starting what we've started, Matt, is a holistic approach to investment. It is 100% investment firm, but we are looking at very early stage companies that require partnership and collaboration across the state level, ultimately, hopefully the federal level. We obviously did a big policy panel earlier today, but really working with entrepreneurs, academics, the state, communities, to really put together a fabric that I think is going to be extremely cohesive and very, very comprehensive in what we can build specifically around the innovation of quantum tech.
So Secretary, you and I have been able to get to know each other a lot more over the last couple months, more specifically around quantum and everything that's happening here. What were some of the things that you saw a month ago in August when you were able to go and meet with all of the universities and see just the amazing work that we've been doing for years around quantum?
Sure. Well, great question. And one of the things that I recognized right away, we met with 10 of our universities today. There's a little more than 14 that are here, but we initially met with 10 of our universities at USF. They hosted us. And one of the things that we realized, we locked ourselves in a room for about 9 hours and really went through top to bottom what every university's quantum programs were. And we recognized a couple things that were really important. One, we recognize we have about 4 decades of research and development here. Florida State, probably the most significant. The Mag Lab at Florida State has been in the quantum space for a long time, since before I think anybody believed the quantum was real. And we have an incredible depth at all of our universities. And at the same time, we have incredible diversity as to what those universities are doing. With any quantum sector, there's 1, 2, 3 of our universities that are specializing in that, but there's no sort of uncomfortable overlap. There really is diversity in the research, whether that's cryptography, national security, whether that's financial services, whether that's related to photonics, and whether that's related to chemistry, autonomous vehicles. There's so much diversity in what our university system is doing with quantum technologies, and so there's a lot of complementary pieces. And we really saw that, maybe just one quick third point, which is just we really saw an opportunity to actually pull everyone together. And the universities were asking us for our support to say, hey, if we're going to help train the talent and probably see companies come through this pipeline, we need our partners in the economic development space to then be ready to catch those companies, support them, and really help them grow and prosper here in the state of Florida, which I think, I don't know if I'm getting ahead of us here, but I think that is part of the, one of the MOUs we're signing today here, which is between Quantum Coastal and the Florida Opportunity Fund, is to make sure that we have a investment ecosystem here to support those companies as they come through our universities.
Yeah, and we'll touch on that in a second. But Bob, I want to go over to you for a second, and you and I have talked about the fact that you guys have invested in some quantum technologies through the fund. Can you kind of highlight that a little bit, and what drove you to that? Because I think that the biggest misconception on quantum investing is it might be too early. And I think that if we're seeing anything in the public markets right now, in the stock prices, there's a lot of activity. But in terms of true venture and where we're putting money to work and advancing various technologies, what was it that drove you specifically into saying we should invest?
Well, I think initially it was looked at as somewhat too early, and now it's not. So we want to get in early because we're also a patient, long-term investor with our companies. I mean, we will stick with them. We do follow-on investing, so we really need to. We're like any other VC. We want to be on board early, cooperating and working with sector specialists like Quantum Coast is also very important. The Florida Opportunity Fund is in a lot of different verticals, from aerospace, space, defense, health, healthcare, life sciences. So if we're looking to invest in, say, cyber and energy, we're looking for funds that are specialists in that. So we think now it's time, because the advances are coming very quickly, as we heard this morning.
So Hillary and I could not be more proud to be sharing the stage with these two gentlemen, because they really are putting a stamp on Quantum Coast Capital and the commitment to bringing financial resources to the state and providing opportunities in a very unique way. So Secretary, would you sort of describe, or Bob, or both of you describe sort of what this MOU really symbolizes and what we're going to do here in a second?
I would just say it's simply a commitment to support companies that come through the talent pipelines and other innovative ecosystems in the state, accelerators, incubators. All that work only has value if we really help those companies then, once they're ready to be commercially viable, support broader quantum technologies. And so it's a commitment to those companies. And I think in that way too, it's a commitment to the hard work our universities are doing too. They're trying to innovate and support this important ecosystem. And so we've got to make that commitment then to make sure those companies stay here and contribute and create great jobs.
Yeah, and Hillary and I always talk about trying to be force multipliers, and as a fund to be able to have friends like you guys supporting what we're doing and providing not just funding but other resources from a state level to help attract talent, but also help be very business friendly. I think it's very forward thinking. So Hillary, kind of get into a little bit of that force multiplication that we try and drive, and sort of how this is going to help support that.
Sure. So I think from day one, when we reached out to Secretary Kelly, and then of course we're introduced with Bob, the concept was that while we are a small investment firm, we think big when it comes to the state, and we think about collaborations and locking arms and being force multipliers. And that really means that we literally go into the labs, we go into the universities, we go into the communities, we find people who require patient capital, follow-on capital, as Bob mentioned, right, in the VC commitment world. We share that with other VCs, we share that with other family offices, we share that with pensions, endowments, all sorts of institutions, because we can't do it all. We know what we're good at, we know where our limitations are, and it's that collaboration. Also, I think it's very important that we work with our founders on putting the right people in their boardrooms, advising them as to what type of capital to put into sort of their cap table, because not necessarily business owners, and they're not necessarily business driven. This is mission critical scientific research, and it is our duty, I believe, to be sort of prudent investors, but also bring strategic capital, bring additional sort of path forward for those companies. And 100% keep them in Florida and expand them in Florida. So I don't think we really need to go outside our boundaries.
So last question here, Bob. What are some of the things just hearing in the room today that excite you about this next frontier?
Actually, that it's coming here, because I'm not supposed to favor anybody because we operate statewide, but I live in Palm Beach County. I've been here since 2000, so I'm very excited to be doing this with you here and with Kelly and the Business Development Board. So that's just the cherry on top for me.
Great. Well, without further ado, Secretary, shall we?